doing a presentation for the next competition season on the updates to the rules and all that stuff.
Okay.
I don't have anything ready.
Welcome, everybody. You know, I just realized I was hearing a sweet sound. You should hear the chatter going on in here. It's great. I mean, I know it's not that you're just talking more. I know there's more people in here. So welcome. It's really great to see so many faces. The only thing I would like to suggest is maybe get here a little bit earlier, because I'm here early enough. We open at 6:30. You know, that would kind of be a good thing. I've been bringing cookies, but I really would still like to have somebody else sign up. There's a sign-up sheet out on the kitchen countertop. Name badges are they're in now. I'm picking them up Monday. So if you had a name badge, it's gonna be up on that magnetic board up there. And that's where, if you ordered one. So I also have to say this. There is somebody, got to look this up real quick. You know how in the past we used to, you left your lights on and somebody said, hey, with the personal license number so-and-so, you left your lights on, and you kind of sneak out of the back of the room. The person whose initials are RB, when I was vacuuming up last week, found a name tag on the ground. And I'm like, so RB, your tag is over there in the bottom left corner. When everybody's, moving around at the end, just kind of sneak up there if you're here. So, Bob, I wanted to ask you beforehand, so either one of you, Bob and Mike, have their gallery going on in Westlake at the Farrell Center for Artful Living. I've seen it. I know last Friday you had your opening. How long does it run till? And okay, so okay, worth the trip. It's till April 1st. That'll be up. Then we have our photojournalism coming up. Again, you can submit up to 7 images, and you have until the Wednesday before, because there's no judging here, so we don't have to wait for judges to do their work. So you have to have them in by March 4th at 9 p.m. I think everybody knows what photojournalism is. We want to see it right out of the camera. And then the next week we have our bee competition. That deadline is also the same, March 4th, because these are going to be judged, so the judges need time to work on them. And all of you that are listening online and all of you here, there's only one person that has entered so far in bee competition. And we do tend to run a little late doing this, but don't run too late, because once that shutter score closes, we can't get anybody in. And we have our last mat cutting on March 17th. This coming Tuesday is one, and then March 17th is one, and then we're done until September. This one is going to be awesome. I don't know if you guys have been looking at the calendar or not. So John Paganini, who is also our chair for a creative competition, he wasn't able to make it tonight. That's all I'm going to say. He's doing this thing, Camera to Showcase, how to organize, share, and sell your photos. He works on a Lightroom Classic-based workflow, and it really is like, soup to nuts. He takes you like from the beginning all the way to the end, all the way from organizing. There are new AI-assisted call tools in Lightroom, how to use collections and export, build your galleries, connect to SmugMug, and pricing. So it looks to be really awesome. That's on the 20th. Last time I'm pointing this out to you guys, okay? That apparel is gonna be out there until we're out, and then order some more. And the stuff that's coming in is gonna be 2.3 almost 2.5 times more expensive. Not because of us, it's just the way the pricing has gone, and we had discounted all that. And I've never worn, for some of you, I've never worn long sleeve polos. I just didn't like them. And I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. Well, yeah, I like it. And I found there's a whole slew of them in my size. There's extra fat. There's extra fat back there, so I've got some more. Okay, so our mentoring program, which is very popular with people, we normally run it twice a year. That's all I'm going to say about that. But the springtime one is the more popular one. Catherine Kengott is running this, and she again this year, and she's already reached out some for prospective mentees just to get a flavor for what they're looking for. So this is really just save the date. The rollout date is April 7th. That's at 7 p.m. It's a little bit early because we're going to do a whole selection thing going on. If you're here in person, you get first dibs, but this is more for the mentors. We would like you to look like, for an example, at all these different styles of photography or subject matter that you have, and be a little bit more specific on what you want to specialize in, and get to Catherine and let her know that you want to participate again. All right, it's prize night. So I think I've told you, like it's a new night, right? I think I've told you guys, one of the hardest parts for me, by the way, a lot of this stuff is donated. I got donations tonight, and so far I haven't had to put any of the club money or my money into it. And this has been fun, kind of fun to watch. But the hard part for me is deciding, I mean, there's always going to be a wah prize, all right? Maybe not most useful. And yeah, the hard part is picking people, but tonight I came up with a great idea. So, you know, when we have these projection judges, we need somebody to read the judges' comments. So I want our readers to come up here. Don't give me that sour look, Nancy.
Well, what readers? You actually got 4 readers, don't you? 3 judges. And
I don't count. We got 3 and me. He's reading comments. Yeah. Okay. Bill, you can stand aside. Yours is special. All right. Now, having said that, don't run into our thing here. I'm going to give ladies choice. One of these is, yeah, you'll see why. There's a reason for this. I'll tell you right now. The reason is he shoots a Nikon Z mirrorless. That's why he gets this. Okay. Yeah. So one of these other ones I think is really cool. It was a donation.
It's a camera, right?
I've had offers of cameras, not digital cameras, but so being the lady, you get to choose which box.
Okay, I'll take this one.
Okay. Wah, wah, wah. This is a slide viewer, okay?
Oh, good. Slides.
But I want to tell you something. This isn't just any. Yes, it works. Well, this is not an electric. You got to hold it up to light.
Okay.
It's old school.
Okay.
So, what I have to tell you why this is so special is I put one of my slides in here from my 1981 trip to Colorado.
You
Of some,
can't get it out?
no, it comes out.
Oh, it's still in there.
It's,
Okay.
yeah, I'm giving it to you as a gift.
Oh, okay, well, thank
And this is to demonstrate that even back as far as 1981, I hadn't figured out how to shoot flowers. So take a look.
you. Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this one is cool. No, that's the booby prize. Yeah. So this says moon photos. Okay. I just think this is cool. These were donated. And I'm going to show the backside of one just so people can see. But after the meeting's over tonight, I'd suggest going to the gathering room and show these to people. So you might not be able to see it here. I know at home you can't see it. See that moon picture? Okay, there's 16 of them in here. These were printed directly from the Hasselblad negatives that were shot on the moon during NASA's Apollo missions.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Nobody's seeing those. I'm taking those home.
Okay, Bill. This is a Nikon Z mount. It's called Retropia. You can open it up and I'll show you how it goes. It is actually an adaptation of the old disposable camera lenses put into a Nikon Z mount in order to give you the, pardon me?
Pinhole.
It's like a pinhole.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
yeah, it is cool. It's like, it looks like an Oreo cookie. Got the lens cap on it.
All right.
And that is like a pinhole, and it gives you kind of a film simulation look.
Does it give you the aperture of the pinhole? By
Um,
chance?
Well, it says 1 to 10 in here, but that's not an aperture number.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Well, I went on this website. It might be on here, but I went on this website. It's an F11
F11. What kind of pinhole's that?
right there.
Okay. Like, my glasses are back there.
Oh, which he is going to
Cool.
need because he is reading.
Thank
I'll
you
let
very-
you stuff that in there.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. You're welcome. You can put all your slides in there. Okay, so we're going to do our creative and pictorial competition tonight. And while I'm getting things set up here, our competition chair, Dan, had a couple of words.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the last creative competition of the evening, or of the season, actually. We have 1B competition left, and what, a photojournalism, I believe? So make sure you enter. Now, if you're in the regular competitions, you can't compete in B, so don't be pulling any of that, because then I'll have to be mad. Anyway, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. There were 4 images I had to disqualify this competition because 2 people put pretty blatant watermarks on it. And if you look at the 5th rule, no watermarks. So you can't have any logo or anything like that. If you do, unfortunately, they have to get disqualified. And just so you know, some of the rules have been slightly tweaked a little bit. Now, like nothing major, just the verbiage, so it makes a little more sense. We've also updated kind of the definition of some of the year-end awards so they make a little more sense with the context of our digital. Because previously, some used to be when we were majorly doing print competitions, some of the special awards were specific to projection. But now that everything has projection, we had to just adjust some of the verbiage. So when you're competing or choosing your images for the year-end competition, just make sure you look at the actual year-end award descriptions, just so you have a better idea of what you should enter from what you've already entered throughout the year. To possibly qualify for those. Now, just so you know, I will be doing a rule update before the next season. I should have done it this year, so that's really on me. Just to kind of reinforce the rules, and try to encourage people to compete, or discourage people to compete, as it may be at times. Not intentionally, I mean well. But either way, this competition was amazing. We had some awesome judges. And man, you guys just really blow me away every time I see these things. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan. I'm going to give you the bios here now for our judges. And when I look at these, I'm like, wow. Hang on a second. Okay, our first judge is Ed Schreider. Following high school and a 5-year Navy tour, Ed attended Ohio University in 1977, where he received a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in photography in 1982 under Arnold Gosson. Ed's personal photography concerns the documentation of industrial, urban, and natural landscapes and abstract subjects. Photographers who influence his work are Aaron Susskind, William Eggleston, Harry Callahan, and Jen Jensel. His current photographic methodology comprises medium format image film capture, high quality digital scanning, and intermediate process utilizing the latest inkjet technology. After a 45-year career in television, producing, and engineering, Ed now resides semi-retired in Lancaster, Ohio. Now we have Christy Steeves. I believe she's the one on the left. Christy Steeves graduated from Indiana University with 2 Bachelor of Arts degrees in journalism and political science. She worked as a television news reporter for 25 years before switching careers to become a professional photographer. She specializes in children, high school seniors, corporate headshots, pets, and wildlife. Christy is actively involved in the photography industry, serving as an approved international juror with Professional Photographers of America and Vice President of Professional Photographers of Northeast Ohio. She has also served as an elected council member for PPA and for the Board of Governors with the American Society of Photographers. Christy has won various awards, including 4 Television Emmy Awards, PPA Diamond Photographer of the Year, Ohio's Photographer of the Year, Wedding Photographer of the Year, and Artist of the Year. She is a 2-time finalist for the IPC Grand Imaging Award. Christy has been a PPA webinar instructor and an Imaging USA speaker. She is an accredited professional animal photographer and at the international level, which might have something to do with the giraffe in the picture. She is also a recipient of the ASP Gold Medallion and State Elite Awards. Her biggest accomplishment, Christy is an ASP Fellow, the highest honor a professional photographer can achieve. Like, yeah, wow, okay. In all seriousness, when I was looking at this image of Rob Knight, that is some kind of tree frog. I think Vicki could tell me what that is, but it looks like a tree frog is on the mount for his light there. So this is Rob Knight. He's been a professional artist for more than 35 years and an educator since 2009. He is a former head brand ambassador for Panasonic and Olympus cameras and currently works as a photography educator and freelance photographer. Rob is an Adobe certified expert in Photoshop Lightroom and a two-time finalist for the National Association of Photoshop Professionals Photoshop Guru Award. He has published 2 books for Peach Pit Press and Rocky Nook Publishing, and his work has been featured in Nature's Best Photography magazine, Arizona Highways, Forbes, and the Wall Street Journal. Rob is best known for his destination photo workshops, his easygoing teaching lifestyle, and his informative critiques. He enjoys teaching in a classroom setting and following his passion for teaching and exploring with students on location. Rob began leading photo workshops in 2009 with a focus on nature and wildlife photography. Some of his favorite locations are Costa Rica and the American Southwest. Wow, those are some amazing credentials. So let me get our images up here. Okay, so our, just to let you know, I like to hesitate a little bit longer on the images. Sometimes I think we run through them a little bit fast. So nothing is broken if it's up there for a little bit longer than you think it should be. So the first, we're going to be looking at Creative First, and the first 40 images do not have any comments. And then all the rest of the images in through the end of pictorial will have comments. This is entitled 45 Minutes by Mark Hansen, 21 points. This is entitled After the Rain by Lana A., 16 points. This is All the World's a Stage by DJ Casanidi, 17 points. This is Arcade Railing by Ron Werman, 22 points, honorable mention. This is called Beam Me Up by Ann Williams, 18 points. This is Carrica Red Rope Bridge by Steven Spencer, 18 points. This is entitled Chaos by Marge Brady, 20 points. This is also called Chaos by Mike Kopkas, 19 points. I don't think they got together on this. This is titled Christmas Explosion by Jordan Tetzel, 21 points. This is Colorful Geometry by Chris Bosworth, 22 points, honorable mention. This is titled Eating Disorder by Bill Keaton, 20 points. This is Echoes of Autumn by Jackie Sieski, 22 points, honorable mention. This is Five Tulips by Vicky Wirt, 21 points. This is Frozen Pumpkins by Melanie Plummer, 19 points. This is entitled Great Minds Think Alike by Joe Smith, 21 points. This is entitled Heather by Joe DiStefano, 18 points. This is titled IU Campus Chapel in Dreamscape. Kenneth Hodina, 23 points, honorable mention. This is Lake in Autumn by Terry Arthur, 21 points. This is titled Light Painted Americana, Wally Nell, 21 points. This is Light Painted Kitchen Scene by Wally Nell, 21 points. This is Live from Lakewood by Brad Nelson Rubensaw, 24 points, third place. This is entitled Lomography Red Scale by Eric Wellington, 18 points. This is by Ann Williams, entitled Long Ago and Far Away, 17 points. This is by Jackie Bosinger Meredith. It's Memento Mori, 24 points, third place. This is entitled Mystical City by Jill Zabka, 22 points, honorable mention. This is entitled On the Abyss by Bill Keaton, 22 points, honorable mention. This is Orange Beach Watercolor by Gary Marich, 16 points. This is also by Gary Marich, Poinsettia Triplets, 21 points. This is entitled Refraction by Mike Kopkas, 22 points, honorable mention. This is Snow Globe by Bonnie Luxco, 20 points. This is State Supreme Court, Joe DeStefano, 20 points. By Wendy Hodina, this is Sunflowers, 21 points. This is Super Macro by Eric Wellington, 16 points. This is entitled The Arrangement by Glenn Petranek, 21 points. This is entitled The Ride by Mark Hansen, 23 points, honorable mention. This is by Glenn Petranek, The TB Foundry, 26 points, first place. This is entitled Transitions by DJ Casanidi, 22 points, honorable mention. This is Two Heads, One Heart by Susan Bestel, 19 points. This is Warp Speed in the Land by Gail Graves, 19 points. This is Who's Who by Kent Hill, 16 points. Okay, from here on out, we will be having judges' comments read. all the way through the end of creative and through the end of the night. You should have
Okay.
a comment. Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
all right. This is from Ed, and it says, interesting photoshopped image. Unsure what was being conveyed, but the colors are striking and contrast nicely with the muted background tones.
This is Bloom in the Dark by Jill Zabka, 17 points.
Rob says, I think the swirl effect works well with this image because of the interaction between the bright pink and the bright green. The swirl works well with the overall composition.
This is entitled Blown Away by Marge Brady, 20 points.
This image has a lot of impact, says Christy. It is unique and creatively done. The right bottom corner of the shirt is bright, so it draws my eye from the subject's face down to the corner of the image. Consider darkening the little triangle of bright blue down a bit. The serious facial expression works well to help tell an impactful story.
This is entitled Confusion by Kent Hill, 22 points, honorable mention.
An interesting double exposure image. The overlay is nearly perfect, showing both sides of the drummer's face.
This is entitled Double Drummer by Brad Nelson Rubensaul, 21 points.
Rob says the lighting and process of the flower, plus the skillful repetition of a single section, makes for a striking image.
By Melanie Plummer, this is Dream Flower, 22 points, honorable mention.
Christy says, this is a really nice high-key image where the woman has been blended nicely into the snow. Very complimentary and done well. Consider flipping the image. In Western society, our eyes are trained to read from left to right, so my eyes go into the back of her head. If she is flipped, my eyes would travel through the negative space, the snow, into her face. Great expression on her face, where she looks hopeful, perhaps looking into the future, adding to a wonderful story.
By Kenneth Houdina, this is called Dreaming, 20 points.
This is from Ed. Interesting composition with the superimposed foreground on a painterly background. I like the use of the rule of thirds for this image.
This is by Susan Bestel, called Ethereal Grace, 20 points.
Rob says, I believe the choice to create a composite of multiple shots evokes a sense of motion in a way that would be difficult with a single photo of the bat. This shot might be improved by tweaking the sky to add a bit of color.
By Jessica Cohen Corrali, Flying Foxes, 20 points.
Christie's comment, love the bokeh in the background and creating such a wonderful depth of field. My eye went right to the car ornament, which is what we want for our main subject, and then to the supporting elements. I would suggest trying to get the whole ornament in focus, including the back part of the wing and its legs. I think not enough of the ornament is in focus. The color harmony is wonderful.
By Vicky Wirt, this is called Into the Wind, 22 points, honorable mention.
Ed says the warm colors of the yellow car contrast nicely with the cool color tone surrounding the tent area.
This is by Jordan Tetzel, Light Painted Car, 17 points.
I think this is a cool idea, Rob says, and I like playing with double exposures. The image gets a bit busy across the lower middle of the frame, and it makes it hard to discern what the focal point is. The chandelier draws the eye, so it is important to consider how it affects the overall composition.
This is entitled Playhouse Square by Wendy Hedina. 22 points, honorable mention.
Christy says, oh my gosh, talk about impactful and creative. Wow. Use of color in this image makes the whole image pop. Great job lighting the glassware. No blown out highlights. Everything in this image is handled well, top notch. The only thing I can add on how to improve it is perhaps darkening down the yellow area to the top left of the triangle. Because it's the brightest part of the image, my eye is drawn there instead of to the glasses. Yellow is naturally an attention getter, so darkening it down would help balance out the whole image.
This is Ribbons, Glass, and Water by Chris Bosworth. 25 points, second place. No brownie points, okay?
Ed says, this is a very good environmental portraiture with good use of available light and great composition. The sense of a place is well established. The man's shadow on the side of the horse is wonderful.
By Jackie Sajewski, this is called Shared Silence. 25 points, second place.
Rob says, I believe this images could be more dramatic with a different consideration of the lighting. The tonality is fairly even across the frame. You can draw the viewer's eye by selectively darkening the shadows and lightening the midtones and highlights in different areas. Darkening the foreground would pull the eye up and toward the mannequin head.
By Jackie Bosinger Meredith, this is called Shattered. 20 points.
The color harmony works well in this image, says Christy. The dark teal background helps the subject stand out. Nice directional lighting with great exposure. I think the image needs a little more breathing room. Giving this image more space on each side would work better so everything doesn't feel so cramped. I like the angle the maker chose so we can see into the bowl of the seashells.
This is by Maria Diaconu, Still Life. 18 points.
Ed says, use of a Photoshop profiling technique is very evident. The trees convey an almost Van Goghish sense of dread. I like the use of black and white versus color to convey the uncanny feeling.
This is The Road Definitely Not Taken by Brian O'Riordan. 21 points.
Rob says, I wasn't crazy about the filtered section until I saw how you blended it with the photographic section of the frame. It gives a through the looking glass effect.
This is Tulip Reflections by Ron Werman. 18 points. And that is the end of the creative part of the evening. And now we're going to go right into the pictorial, and these will also all have comments.
Christie says, the angle works well, giving the viewer the chance to see what the mechanic is working on inside the hood of the trunk, providing us with a nice story. The exposure is great. I think the presentation matte is a bit much. It distracts from the image and takes my eye away from the subject. A simple presentation is usually better so it doesn't create a distraction. Consider doing something like this as a horizontal image so we're seeing more of the garage instead of the ceiling. There's a lot of wasted space at the top of the image that takes away from the subject. Speaking of the subject, you did a good job with a profile shot of the man so we can see his face and expression with how focused he is on fixing something in the engine.
This is A Homemade Postcard by Kenneth Hedina. 20 points.
Ed says, beautiful winter shot of Ash Cave in the Hocking Hills. I like the way the sun is just peeking through the trees above the falls and how it outlines the contrasting ice against the darker sandstone.
This is by Denise Meekins, Ash Cave Ice Volcano, 20 points.
I generally like this composition, Rob says, but the subject feels a bit cramped in the bottom of the frame. Cropping a bit off the top and bringing down the bright highlight in the top right corner might bring the focus more to your subject.
By Kent Hill, this is Bangkok River Vendor, 21 points.
Christie's comment. You have set up a nice story with this robin looking for a little morsel of food as it tries to survive the cold winter. The exposure is good as well. Consider darkening the background. There's a lot going on with all of the branches and the snow, so the robin is getting lost in the business of the image. If the background is darkened, it would make the robin stand out a bit more.
This is Bird in the Bush by Benjamin Williams, 17 points.
Ed says, great high shutter speed capture while still maintaining focus on the eyes. Maybe a tighter crop of the image would enhance the composition.
By David Karosik, Blue Eagle Splash, 26 points, first place.
Wow.
Rob says, I think the double exposure works beautifully here. It gives a sense of the same scene in different time periods. As in, maybe there used to be a market here, but now it's a train station.
This is Busy Day at the Market by Jill Zapka, 23 points, honorable mention.
Okay.
Christie says, wow, this image reminds me of legendary landscape photographer Ansel Adams. The tonal range in this black and white image is fabulous. Nice composition with the top rock a little to the left and not dead center. It is pleasing to the eye. The triangular composition of the rock allows my eye to come up one side and down the other and back to the top rock again. You have detail in the textures, even the whites, which isn't easy to do. Great job.
By David Karosik, this is Central Coast Rock, 26 points, first place.
Oh.
Ed says, a technically very good studio capture in the traditional product photography sense. Like the color contrast. Notice a bit of the studio reflected in the glass outside of the backdrop light table setup.
By Chris Bosworth, this is Complementary Colors, 20 points.
Rob says, beautiful composition color, but the highlights are a little hot. Bringing down the highlights will give the image a more painterly feel.
By Leslie Nutt, this is The Cotswolds, 21 points.
Christie's comment, nice depth of field, which really makes this leaf stand out. The exposure is spot on. The background is dark enough to make the leaf really pop. The only thing I can suggest to help enhance the image is to watch for the color shift with the yellowish leaves at the bottom. Yellow is an attention getter and creates a distraction from the main subject. You could either darken the yellow leaves or match the color of the green leaves above them.
By Bonnie Luxo, Dried Curly Leaf, 16 points.
Ed's comment is a very short depth of field that sets off the foreground and isolates the subject. I like how the image is composed so the background is darker at the top and lighter at the bottom.
This is called Goldenrod in Winter by Benjamin Williams, 16 points.
Beautiful composition and light, Rob says. The image looks grainy and lacks detail in the foreground. Unfortunately, this includes a horse, which is the main focal point.
By Catherine Kenko, Grazing Horse, 20 points.
Great depth of field, which makes these flowers really stand out, says Christy. The dark background also makes them pop. The composition works well with a little breathing room, negative space on camera left, allowing my eyes to come into the image and go right into the face of the left flower. The only thing I can suggest to enhance this image is perhaps darkening down the yellow flowers a bit. They're a little bright compared to the rest of the image. If they're darkened down, we might see more of the texture in the yellow flowers. We're losing a little detail in them as they are now.
This is entitled Great Bougainvillea by Joseph Miko, 18 points.
Ed says, interesting fractured self-portrait that is reminiscent of a Robert Frank photo from the Americans. Also, not unlike a technique used in cinematography called a Dutch roll.
By Jordan Tetzel, entitled If Only, 18 points.
Rob says, I believe a different framing and more specific lighting would make this image more effective. I would include more of the model on the side of the mirror and eliminate the picture frame on the left edge of the frame. The model is the same brightness as the reflection, so the two elements, even though it's technically the same subject, compete with each other visually.
This is entitled Imperfectly Perfect by Susan Bestel, 19 points.
Wowza, says Christy. This is an incredible image. Great underwater exposure of this whale. The composition works well. I like that we see a little of the surface area to give perspective, but not too much so our attention stays on the subject. Talk about impact. When this image came up, my jaw dropped and my eyes bugged out. It is done really well. The light coming down from above, creating a triangle with diagonal lines, led my eye right to your subject. The only thing I could suggest is perhaps giving the whale a little more breathing room, a place to continue swimming, with more space underneath it. Not a lot of space, just a tad bit more room below. Fabulous, stunning, and beautiful.
This is by Jessica Cohen Corrali, entitled Into the Abyss, 25 points, second place.
Ed says, nice waterfall image, and particularly including the egret in the shot. Particularly like how the image was captured using a slow shutter speed to enhance the falling water effect.
By Ron Worman, this is entitled Ithaca Falls, 22 points, honorable mention.
Rob says, I would recommend including the elements in the frame in a more specific way. The driftwood, rocks on the beach are very small in the frame, as is the hillside in the background. It may be more dramatic to move closer to the driftwood so it is larger in the foreground, or change the composition so that the hillside plays a bigger role.
By Leslie Nutt, this is entitled Lake Michigan, 20 points.
Great composition, says Christy. Great shallow depth of field that makes your subject really stand out. And your focus is spot on. Everything is sharp. The drop of water dangling from the right branch gives it a nice storytelling effect. I think the pods hanging from the branch are a little overexposed. If they were a bit darker, we could see more detail. Right now they seem a little washed out. Your choice of black and white works well to keep any color distractions out, so the viewer's attention stays on the subject.
By Catherine Kenga, this is Maple Seed Pod, 20 points.
Ed says, a well-crafted composition, and particularly the balanced, soft lighting with no distracting highlights or misplaced shadows.
By Jackie Sayeski, Mirrored Solitude, 24 points, third place.
Oh,
You have captured a beautiful moment in this frame, Rob says. The collar looks a little cool to me, but these animals might just be less yellow-brown than other giraffes I've seen.
By Eric Botsky, Mother's Love, 25 points, second place.
great. Christy says, great exposure. I am seeing detail in everything. When this image came up, my first reaction, because of the detail in the clouds and the blue sky contrasting beautifully with the foliage below, was wow. The detailed clouds give this image a lot of impact. For a landscape image, you did well by having the foliage in the bottom third of the image, which is pleasing to the eye, and 2/3 of the image being this impactful sky. The colors complement each other with the greens below and the vibrant blue sky above. Your focal range is great. Everything is in focus. The only thing I can suggest is perhaps making this image more panoramic. If you have more space on either side, a panel would be really cool.
By Dave Saborik, Oxbow Meadow, 19 points.
Nice, Ed says. Do not think I've ever seen an elephant from this perspective and this up close. Particularly like how the lighting on this elephant's skin contrasts with the background, with the dark background.
By Dennis Wirt, Pachyderm Portrait, 25 points, second place.
If you're going to enter a flower in a photo competition, it needs to be this good, Rob says. Beautiful focal point with the dewdrops and a nice soft fall off into the out of focus background.
This is entitled Passion Flower Dew by Vicky Wirt, 23 points, honorable mention.
Christy says, oh my gosh, what a great composition with the diagonal branch on camera left leading my eye right to this monkey. I like that you've cropped in fairly tight on the monkey's face so the viewer can enjoy its expression and the detail in its fur. The color balance, however, is off. There is a yellow color cast throughout the image. That happens quite often when we photograph outdoors. I would suggest desaturating the yellow off the branches and the monkey. The background is fine, but the branches and monkey have a color balance issue.
By Marge Brady, Paytas Monkey 2, 18 points.
Ed says, great up-close flamingo image, very much like how the short depth of field of the background helps to not distract the viewer from the foreground textures and hues.
This is Peekaboo by Dennis Wirt, 21 points.
Nice capture, Rob says, and much more interesting than a bird on a stick. I might crop a bit to include less of the lower right of the frame because it doesn't do anything to tell the story.
By Brad Nelson Rubensaul, this is Rambling Brambling, 24 points, third place.
Christy says, this is an awesome image. You did a fantastic job getting the majority of this spider in focus and bringing out so much detail in its face and body. Your subject really stands out thanks to a great job with the shallow depth of field. The lighting is wonderful, especially the highlights on the spider's face. Exposure is spot on too. The only thing I can suggest is taking off the white spots on the yellow leaf. One is below the spider's leg, camera right, and the other is behind the back leg, camera right. Little spots like those create a distraction that pulls the viewer's eye away from the subject. There's also a little brown stick in the foreground that could be removed.
By Jessica Cohen Corrali, School Picture Day, 25 points, second place.
Ed says, an interesting abstract image that borders on black and white, but faint patches of color reveals this is a color photograph. The racked lighting enhances the textures in the sand that reinforce the abstract effect.
This is entitled Shoreline of Another World by Bob Kowaleski. 25 points, second place.
Very clean and beautiful, Rob says. Nice lighting to show the bright white while still showing the texture of the petals.
Denise Meekins titled this Simply Peace. 26 points, first place.
Wow, way to go, Denise. Excellent. Christy says, the maker did a great job getting the butterfly in focus and bringing out so much detail on its face, body, and wings. Nice lighting, too. I have a couple of suggestions. First, I would recommend cropping off the bottom of the image since much of the flower is out of focus. There's so much flower that it distracts from the butterfly. By cropping off at least half of the flower, that would bring attention to the butterfly. If it's cropped up, then I would suggest giving a little more space at the top of the image so there's breathing room. Second, I would also recommend cropping off a little of the side, camera left, because the sprouts are too bright. That would also put the butterfly in the rule of thirds composition.
By Mike Lonsdale, this is called Skipper on Button Bush. 22 points, honorable mention.
Okay.
Ed says, nice that the composition includes the vapor trails to the right. The jets approaching the left side of the image alludes to the speed these machines are flying.
This is entitled Smoke and Formation by Melanie Plummer. 25 points, second place.
I really like this frame, Rob says. I find the orange in the sunset a bit oversaturated and it distracts a little from the overall image.
By Maria Diaconou, this is called Sunrise. 21 points.
Photographing snow can be difficult, but in this case, the maker did a good job maintaining detail in the snow, says Christy. Great exposure and lighting on the dilapidated birdhouse. The composition is a bit off. There's not enough room on camera right. I think we need a little more breathing room for the face of the birdhouse. I would recommend flipping it as well so the front of the birdhouse faces camera left. In our Western culture, our brains are trained to read from left to right. By flipping the image, our eyes would travel across the left side to the image into the front of the birdhouse. But to do so, it does need more negative space or breathing room leading into the face of the birdhouse.
This is entitled Superhost by Gail Graves. 17 points.
Ed says, well done. The eyes are sharp, which is important in wildlife photography. Like how the image was captured in mid-stride, which adds some tension to the image.
This is called The Hunt by Jackie Bosinger Meredith. 21 points.
Rob says, great subject and perfect setting. I might crop the top and right of the frame so that the space between the head and the top of the frame is the same as the space between his tail and the bottom of the frame.
By Eric Botsky, this is called The Wise Owl. 26 points, first place.
Okay. Christy says, wow, what a delightful image of a beautiful butterfly. Tack sharp and nice shallow depth of field to make the butterfly stand out from its surroundings. The lighting on the butterfly is great and the detail is amazing. I think the big flower behind the butterfly is competing for attention, however, in part because of its color, which creates a distraction. Pinks and reds are attention getters, so my eye becomes fixated on the flower more than on the main subject. Perhaps the maker can darken the flower a bit along with the overall background, which could help make the butterfly stand out a bit more.
This is titled Tiger Swallowtail by Mike Lonsdale, 20 points.
Ed says, very short depth of field centered on the foreground bloom adds a poetic, ethereal feel to the image.
This is Tulips by Wendy Hodina, 21 points.
Rob says good lighting here. I believe a different composition would help to showcase the focal point, which is the top of the leaf. Maybe a vertical crop that eliminates the right side of the current frame.
This is called Unfurling by Dave Saborik, 20 points.
Christy says, the maker has really set the mood with this image, almost dark and foreboding, with the storm clouds off in the distance. Nice exposure throughout, and my eye goes right to the building set next to a beautiful coastline. For a landscape image, the maker chose a rule of thirds composition, which is spot on. The main subject is placed nicely in the top part of the image, so our eyes sweep along the grassy landscape right up to the church. My suggestion is doing more of a panoramic composition, maybe cropping out some of the grass at the bottom and getting in closer to the church.
By Bob Kowalewski, this is Where Silence Still Prays, 22 points, honorable mention.
Ed says, very much like the used vignetting that helps focus the attention of the viewer on the center of the image, which is already a strong centered composition to begin with.
By Maria Diaconou, this is Yellow Flower, 18 points.
Rob says it's difficult to discern your intended focal point for this composition. If it is a texture of the trees, a closer view of them would make that more clear. A vertical crop featuring the snowy path in the right center of the frame could also be more interesting.
By DJ Casanidi, this is A Winter's Trek, 17 points.
According to Christie, this image looks like a piece of art that could go in a gallery. The maker has a great eye for creativity and seeing something others might overlook. The condensation on this window gives the items inside an otherworldly feel. This image is engaging, which is what we want in creating art that leaves it up to the viewer's imagination to fill in the story. That right there gives this image impact and great storytelling. The only thing I'd like to see is more of the tape on the right side of the image. I see crime scene do not, and would like to see the finished sentence to help me fill in the blanks. It leaves me wondering what the rest of the story is as part of the story, or rest of the sentence is as part of the story.
This is entitled Condensate by Glenn Petranek, 24 points, third place.
Ed says, nice image of a swan in winter. I like seeing the reflection of the swan's neck and head in the ice.
By Catherine Kenga, this is Contemplation, 22 points, honorable mention.
I like the tonal contrast between the foreground and the background, Rob says. It would be nice if you could tone down the bright highlights in the background in the bottom half of the frame.
By Benjamin Williams, this is Dead Flower, 19 points.
Christie says, great color harmony. Wow. The oranges, yellows, and bright green really complement each other, which is pleasing to the eye. Good exposure so I can see all of the details in this image. I would like to see a little more space on either side of the door to give me a little more perspective of the room where this photograph was taken. I do like that the door was not in a bullseye position, that it's placed more to the left, which adds intrigue and creativity.
By Wally Nell, this is Desert Wear and Tear, 25 points, second place.
Ed says shallow depth of field highlights the foreground subject, which helps enhance the texture details. The use of vibrant colors also enhances the image as well.
By Bonnie Luxo, this is Fibonacci Curve, 17 points.
Rob says, overall, I like the moody feel of the soft light. I might crop the top of the frame closer to the top of the trees in the background and maybe a touch off of the left side. I feel like the sky is the least interesting element, and cropping would focus the attention more on the foreground.
This is entitled Foggy at the River's Icy Edge by Denise Meekins, 20 points.
Amazing ice sculpture in the foreground of this image, says Christy. It draws my eye right where the maker wants me to go with the composition. The blue water ice of the lake appears oversaturated to me. Having photographed ice structures on Lake Erie, I don't remember the ice or water being this blue, so it looks like it's not natural. I get a feeling it was saturated or painted with color because of the edge line where the water rocks meet the sky, camera right. There's white-gray ice and then blue ice, so it looks like some areas were missed in processing. In other words, the technique wasn't carried out throughout the entire area of the lake. The exposure on the ice sculpture is wonderful. Lots of great detail and lighting.
By Joe DeStefano, Frozen Lake Erie Sunset, 18 points.
Wow. Ed says the vertical composition helps to include the entire length of the lizard. If this was a horizontal composition, parts of the lizard may have been missing, like the dark background contrasting with the foreground subject.
By Dennis Word, Gargoyle Gecko, 19 points.
Rob says, quintessential wildlife shot. If I'm nitpicking, I would tone down the highlights in the snow a bit.
This is entitled Ghost of the Mountain by Eric Botsky, 25 points, second place.
Christy comments, what a beautiful butterfly. The first thought that comes to mind is that it's angelic. Perhaps what gives me that vibe is because there's a glow coming from the background around the butterfly. Nice exposure showing all of the details on the wings and face of the insect. The shallow depth of field makes the butterfly pop. I would consider giving the image a little more breathing room, camera right. I feel the butterfly needs some space to look into.
Bill Keaton entitled this It's Supper Time, 24 points, third place.
Ed says cute interpretation of a child having a relationship with new technology. The depth of field, composition, and lighting help convey the photographer's intentions.
This is by Gary Merrick, Levi with Telescope, 18 points.
Rob says this is a great capture that could be perfected with a bit of editing. The white balance looks a little blue. In parentheses, the spoonbill looks purple instead of pink. And the exposure should come up 1/3 or 2/3 stops.
By Bob Kowaleski, this is entitled Lift, 21 points.
Christy says, great job getting the center part of this flower in focus. The maker did a good job getting my eyes to go right to the pistil and foreground petals. The detail in this image is superb. The water droplets give the flower an element of storytelling, creating a scene where we imagine that it has just rained, and now the sun is coming out to warm the surrounding environment. The only suggestion I can make is about composition. I would suggest having more space, camera right, to give the flower breathing room. I would rather see a little of the left side cropped off and more space on the right. I think that would be more pleasing to the eye.
By Joseph Miko, this is Lily with Dewdrops, 21 points.
Ed says, interesting use of and capitalizing on available lighting. The warm glow of the sun contrasting with the cool, darker background adds tension and mystery to the photograph.
This is entitled Loneliness by Mike Kopkas, 21 points.
Rob says, nice light here. I believe the composition could be improved by cropping off the right side of the frame.
This is entitled Milkweed by Ann Williams, 17 points.
Wow, says Christy. Talk about impact and humorous storytelling. When this image came up, it made me laugh. And that's what impact is all about, emotion. The lighting with this portrait is spot on. Nice job getting the whites exposed properly, along with the subject's face and the dentistry tools. The blood is a nice complement to the story that's being told. One thing I noticed that can be fixed, in portrait work, we should only see one catch light in each eye. I suggest cloning out the extra catch lights. The basis behind this suggestion. In the studio, our lights are meant to mimic the sun, and there's only one sun, so there should only be one catch light in each eye. I always leave the catch light in that's closest to the main light.
By Kim Wasilewski, this is entitled My Worst Nightmare, 17 points.
Ed says, important that the image does maintain the insect's eyes in focus, which is not an easy thing to do with such shallow depth of field.
This is Native Mason Bee by Mike Lonsdale, 17 points.
Rob says, I really like the combination of still and flying cranes. I would consider a wide angle crop that eliminates the top third of the frame. The expanse of white sky distracts from the interesting elements in the foreground.
This is Sandhill Cranes in the Mist by Dave Saborik, 21 points.
Christy says, the maker did a good job slowing down the shutter to get a soft, silky waterfall, giving it an ethereal quality to the image. The effect is handled well for capturing long exposure images like this one. Beautiful location. I'm not sure it was the right time of day, however, with the sun hitting the foliage and not the waterfall. A bright area draws our eyes away from the main subject, which to me is the waterfall, so it created a distraction. We also have a mixture of cool tones and warm tones, which in this case is not complementary. Later or earlier in the day might have produced a better result.
By David Korosik, this is Seneca Mill Falls, 20 points.
Ed says, the image maintains a level horizon, which is important for any type of seascape. Like how the wave crashing on the end of the seawall contrasts the nominally calm left half of the image as well as the wave action on the right side.
This is Leslie Nutt, Storm Blowing In, 18 points.
Rob says, I think this is a good example of a pictorial image. The colors may be a bit oversaturated, but that is obviously the look you were going for, and it works.
by Gail Graves. This is called Welcome, 19 points. And that concludes our competition for this evening. Guys did a great job. Thanks for the judges. Thanks for the readers. Keep shooting. And I think we have enough time for somebody to show us moon pictures out in the gathering.
Hey, Chris? iPhone class. Mention the iPhone class.
Believe we have an iPhone school coming up in a week or so, maybe 10 days, and you're still open to register on the website. Thanks.